New Landing's Job Chat is brought to you in part by the Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future, and by the EBS Group with an unparalleled background in Oracle solutions and services.
You're working with a job search company or you're working with a recruitment company, but everybody's using technology today, including them. How are you using it, and how is it best used for your job search? You'll find out today on Job Chat. My name is Hector Silva. I'm your host. Our guest today is Mike Tracy. Welcome, Mike.
Good morning.
Mike Tracy is the owner and managing principal of Omni Employment Management Services. He has over 25 years of professional human resources management experience with well-respected organizations such as Dayton Hudson Corporation, KCF PepsiCo, and Culinary Concepts Limited, a subsidiary of Hallmark Corporation. Michael is actively involved with professional and civic organizations within the Kansas City area and serves on several nonprofit boards and advisory groups. He has completed his SPHR in 1994 and remains an adjunct faculty member within the graduate and undergraduate programs at Friends University. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks.
Technology, continuously changing, continuously updating. What's the best way to use that in our job searches? And does it affect the way you do your job if we don't do ours?
Absolutely. Technology is a necessary evil that has changed the recruitment process significantly, even in small firms. You know, how does it get used? It gets used to post opportunities. It gets used to receive and read your resume and keyword categorize it without a human ever seeing it. It gets used to come out of a database when somebody puts in 5 keywords that they're looking for without even looking at names or anything else. It gets used to do assessments, to do screening. It's used online. I've seen it used for psychological part of the application process. You take a little psychological assessment as part of the process. It's everywhere. It's used to find people. It's used to find out about people. And it's ultimately been able to allow the recruitment process to attract a lot more names in the net and go through those names a lot more efficiently, resulting in what ostensibly is a more accurate fit. Whether it's true or not, I'm not really sure. But at the end of the day, it has increased the numbers of people that are available, that hear about and apply. It has rapidly allowed for a quicker assessment, and it's used to help validate candidates. So it's everywhere in the process, and I think it's critical that a seeker understands, frankly, how to best present themselves through technology that might be affecting their applicancy at every stage of the process. So all that being said, do you have keywords in your resume? Is it going to be read by a reader? Are you aware of what it is that needs to stand out in terms of your expertise and that which the client needs? It's just changed the way the processes are done.
It changes the recruitment process. It also changes in that technology does not stand still.
Never, no.
And while you are out there seeking for jobs and technology is changing, if you don't keep up with those changes, when you go back into a job, you're going to be behind.
You will be behind.
So these changes that are coming about, do you feel those in the recruitment area at all? Because I know that people go out there looking for jobs. They don't just send out a resume because they have to fill out a resume online.
Right.
They may have to send information places where they might not even know where they're sending it.
That's true.
So
That's true.
From your perspective, when you're dealing with people, Are you looking for them to use technology with you?
Well, I think technology, when it comes to the application process, we don't have online applications in our shop, but Sprint does, DST does, Hallmark does, and the online application is just inherent with today's need and compliance for organizations to track and monitor who all's apply. It's used to evaluate, find keywords, and sort out those few people out of the thousands that meet their needs. So it's expected that anybody seeking employment needs to recognize you're going to be faced with technology. You're going to have to use it, and the goal is how can you, in any way, shape, or form, take that electronic means to get your information into somebody's system and come out when it's supposed to come out. The other thing that we use technology for a lot in the search business in particular is finding people. Because our goal is to find people who stand out in their profession. And our goal is to be able to find people who meet the specific criteria of a client. And the most efficient way to find that anymore is technology. Back in the day, you used to go get a Hoover's or a Sorkin's, and you'd flip through the pages and you'd find out who's who and all these different businesses. And today you sit on LinkedIn and you knock it out in about an hour. And you can have identified many potential candidates or network referrals because you've been able to type in an industry and a position and a city and find out who those people are in those jobs that you want to reach out to. So technology on our part is tremendous in being able to identify people that we need to find. One Google search will find out what the professional associations are and whether your name is on the officer list or not. Technology is used significantly in our need to be able to identify who's standing out.
You mentioned LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and LinkedIn, of course, is probably the most professional use of the websites. But the recommendations that are in LinkedIn, how much weight do you put to those in your search?
The specifically things like recommendations and references are weighted not necessarily by what they say, but honestly, who provided them.
Who took the time?
Well, who took the time? Was it my brother-in-law, some name on a recommendation I don't know? Or was it the Senior Vice President of Information Technology at Garmin? I think the reality of whether it's a recommendation on LinkedIn or just an employment reference, there is probably as much or more weight placed upon, well, who's providing the reference than what the reference says. Because a person who's in a position that others would give certain credence of, they kind of know a good one when they see one, is more valuable than a recommendation or a reference from somebody who I don't know who they are. And so they can say nice things, but I have no standard against which I can evaluate their caliber. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So the recommendation on LinkedIn, I think, is nice, and it's a good thing to do. But probably from the recruitment perspective, on the search side of things, that's kind of getting in a little bit into the weeds. The first thing is, are you on it? Because if you're not, when I do a search for controllers in the manufacturing and distribution industry in Kansas City, and your name doesn't show up, I don't know who you are. And I'm not going to be able to then send you a notification of the opportunity, and I'm not going to be able to incorporate you in our research of prospective candidates because you're not there. So step one, are you there? Step two, does your social profile professionally represent your brand and your image? We don't use Facebook. I'm not interested. In the professional world in which we provide support, that's not really going to help me. The LinkedIn, blessing or curse, is an instrument of significant research value. Does it adequately represent your professional brand and billboard of what you really are all about? And so, does it jump off the page and demonstrate your tops in your field? And that's not always something that's done well. The third thing that's kind of interesting, we've had experiences where we were looking for a client, helping a client find someone to be responsible for digital media. Well, you'd think someone who's in the digital media field would be using social media and have several contacts and kind of use it the way it's supposed to be used. And, you'd be surprised how many people have 5 contacts and they're positioning and representing themselves as a digital media expert. Well, it doesn't add up. So it's kind of interesting, but technology is a powerful reference of how you position yourself, and then how well you've articulated your professional brand on that personal social network website. Yeah.
Would you also go as far as when you're doing your Googling, if you see any blogs or any articles that people have put out, do you go and look at those also?
We don't incorporate that in the search process. That's going to be down the line that somebody might engage in that kind of work. In the hiring and stepping into the legalities, there are certain lines drawn around which businesses need to sort of respect the hiring process as a process that's done equal and consistent. And when that process crosses a line into a less than equal process. And spending time reading blogs and digging on people is not generally an acceptable part of a legally and professionally run hiring process. Now, that being said, you're going to hire a professional to add to your team, and you're the hiring manager, and frankly, you don't care about those HR people, and you're about ready to make an offer to somebody, are you going to go look and see what this person's been blogging about and what they've done? I don't think anybody should be so naive to think that their technological representation at any point in time is not open to anybody at any point in time. And I think, respecting one's technological representation in all ways, at all times, needs to be consistent. And so saying you're part of the Republican Party on your LinkedIn and then blogging in favor of the Democrats, I'm just saying, is a complete contradiction of the way you're trying to represent yourself. So you have to respect the fact that somebody's going to read that blog and realize, well, who is this person really? And I think that's partly where people naively think that technology on the personal side is personal, but on the professional side is professional. And no, you're not allowed to look in the personal side. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, it's all public. And it all is part of your professional representation. There's nothing on the personal that isn't going to have an influence on the professional. And technology sometimes makes that distinction real clear when people don't pay attention. And they get into certain things on the personal that bleeds over into professional.
So be careful what you
put out
there. On the other hand, if you're unemployed and you're keeping up with changes in your industry, mm-hmm. and you're putting articles out there about your opinion of these mm-hmm. changes, mm-hmm. it is something you can point to later on and say,
that's right. Reinforces.
Look at what I've done.
Blessing or curse. If you're reinforcing it through articles and blogs, and that's your brand, and that's what you say, and that's what you'll do. What if I hire you? This is who I am. You're fine. Yeah. There are those who have failed to find the line between professional and personal.
There are many, many job seekers out there that are, I'm not going to say old, but experienced, very experienced.
Yeah.
And some of them not refuse, but they are kind of reluctant to use technology today. Is that a problem?
You know, I host a job seeker roundtable a couple times a month. I visit a lot with people who are seeking, and some people feel that the more gray hair they have, the more they're discriminated against. But I've come to recognize I don't believe that's as much of an issue as people have been technologically behind the curve. It's not age discrimination; it's technology discrimination. If a person is not staying current with what businesses need today, which is work, efficiency, productivity, communication through technology. If a person doesn't stay current and isn't demonstrating they're really good at that, then they have outdated themselves. Now, you can say that's age, but that can happen with a 40-year-old or a 30-year-old if they're just not in the game. And frankly, there are people and younger people who are technologically outdated, and they've outdated themselves. I think there's more issue with technology than being outdated than age. And I think people who stay in the game demonstrate through blogging, through their LinkedIn page, demonstrate through active involvement and demonstrate how to use Excel and are using Word and are proficient and polished in the way their emails come across. All of it demonstrates a competency that's just an expected standard in employment today. And if you don't have an expected standard level of competency using computers and technology, you're behind the curve. I don't care how old you are. And I think an older worker who can demonstrate, no, I am on technology. The employer wants people who can get the work done, and generally it involves technology. It does in my shop, in my organization, and there's just certain element of expectation. You just got to know how to do stuff. And I don't care how old you are. If you can't do it, you're not going to be productive. And so I think more and more people should recognize, is it really age, or are you really on your game in today's technological world? And as simple as it sounds, making an attachment on an email file isn't rocket science, and there's a lot of people that don't remember how to do that.
And there are a lot of places you can learn.
There's lots of places you can learn. And just taking an hour a couple times a week to just teach yourself demonstrates at least the willingness and interest to try to do it. But when some people just put blinders on, or they just, I can't do it, I don't want to do it. My 83, 84-year-old father-in-law loves email, and he is all over it. And, my 80-year-old mother won't even touch a computer. Now, you know what? There's people who just demonstrate they're still in the game and they want to use technology and are using it for communication and fun and getting things done. And I think that's what people don't appreciate is you allow yourself to get behind the curve. You've devalued your value to employers today.
And we have to recognize that it's not going to change.
It's not going to change at all.
Technology is here. Technology will continue to evolve. And if we don't evolve with it, then we become extinct.
Yeah, you become less relevant in the workforce. Yeah. And I think that's where people should understand there's a job to do if you want to stay relevant in the workforce. And it generally involves remaining current with technology.
And it doesn't take that much time.
It doesn't take time. It takes time. It does take time. It does take time to be sure you stay up on it and that you're willing to learn. But it doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes a willingness to want to do it. Yeah.
Especially when you understand the importance behind it. When you understand that if you are a job seeker, this is the way you're going to get the word out.
This is the way you're going to get the word out. If you're a job seeker and you don't have a LinkedIn page, well, you're not going to show up on our radar, nor are you going to show up on an employer's radar. So you better figure out how, if you're going to be a professional and have a professional brand out there and compete with all the other professionals who are in the same profession as you, you better play in the same league as everybody else, and they all have demonstrated their professionalism through the profiles they have out there and the utilization of technology. So it's very important that you remain competitive.
I know for a fact many companies are relying on the employee themselves to do more and more work. Less administrative help is out there for you these days. So if you don't know how to do it, nobody else is going to do it for you.
No. Or it's going to take you 3 times as long to get something done that somebody could get done in a third of the time. And so, yeah, it doesn't work.
Well, Mike, you're always on our radar. And if somebody wanted to reach you for some more information, where could they reach you?
Best way is through our website, omniemployment.com, all one word, omniemployment. Phone number is 913-341-2119.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us and giving us some wonderful insight. You can hear more advice from Mike Tracy on other webcasts he's done with us. You can also see other experts on our podcast at www.newlandiesjobchat.org, or you can go to YouTube and put in Job Chat. Until next time, may your days be full of health, happiness, and success.